Nowadays, when people want the unfiltered truth on world events, the legacy media outlets like CNN, Fox, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, you name it, they're all downtrodden, being dissed. Nowadays, we ask ourselves, why are African countries kicking the United States and France out and replacing them with Russia and China? The mainstream media outlets in America all say, Russia bad, Putin bad, Putin bad. America good, Biden good. China trick Africa, America no trick no one. The world is no longer accepting the punchlines and unsounded advice from the far left or far right media, spreading the flossy-nosy nihilipilification propaganda to sway them to pick their team. People are more inclined to think there's a more honest and simple explanation on these world events that we're seeing. So let's get it straight from the horse's mouth and make our own determinations. Freedom of thought, ladies and gentlemen. I give you President Vladimir Putin himself. He goes over the important details of Poland, Ukraine, France, and Africa's future involvement with the Russian Federation. So like, subscribe, grab a drink, and let's watch this together. And please be sure to comment and enjoy the dialogue with each other below as well, and share as well. One love. Cheers.
Vladimir Vladimirovich. The Americans seem to be talking about negotiations, about strategic stability. But at the same time they are declaring the need to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. Our position sounds like we are open to negotiations. But at the same time, the period of kind gestures has passed. They are over. So will there be negotiations? We have never refused to negotiate, but what can we do without kind gestures? So, no compromises? How can we live without them? I'll try to explain this. When we were negotiating in Turkey, in Istanbul, I have already said this many times. We need to repeat it again. I will do it. We met with negotiators from the other side. We came up with a thick tome, a document, in fact, an agreement, for the draft agreement. And there is an excerpt from this agreement. It was initialed by the head of the negotiating group on the Ukrainian side, Mr. Arakhamia. He did it. His signature is there. We have this document in the administration, but then, as you know, Mr. Arakhamia himself publicly told the world. This was also at a meeting with journalists, even with foreign journalists. He said that the former Prime Minister of Great Britain, Mr. Johnson, came and dissuaded them from finally signing and, accordingly, implementing this agreement. And the topic that you just mentioned came up, that it is necessary to defeat Russia on the battlefield. Are we ready to negotiate? Yes, we are ready. But only we are ready for negotiations that are not based on some desires after the use of psychotropic drugs, but based on the realities that have developed on Earth. As we say in such cases, this is the first. Second, they promised us a lot many times. They promised not to expand NATO to the east. And then we see them at our borders. Without going into history, they promised us that the internal conflict in Ukraine would be resolved by peaceful means, by political means. As we remember, 3 foreign ministers came to Kiev, Poland, Germany and France. They promised that they would be the guarantors of these agreements. But a day later there was a coup. They promised to implement the Minsk agreements, and then they publicly announced that they did not intend to fulfill these promises. But they only took a break to arm the Bandera regime in the country. They promised us a lot of things. Therefore, promises alone are not enough here. Now to negotiate just because they are running out of ammunition is somehow ridiculous on our part. However, we are ready for a serious conversation. And we want to resolve all conflicts, and especially this conflict, by peaceful means. But we must clearly understand for ourselves that this will not be a pause that the enemy wants to take for rearmament. But this will be a serious conversation with security guarantees for the Russian Federation. And we know the various options that are being discussed. We know the carrots they are going to show us in order to convince us that the time has come. I repeat once again, we want to resolve all disputes, including this dispute, this conflict, by peaceful means, and we are ready for this. We want it. But this must be a serious conversation, ensuring security for the opposing side, and, in this case, first of all, we are interested in the security of the Russian Federation. This is what we will proceed from. Vladimir Vladimirovich, it seems to me that we somehow look too noble. Will it happen that once again we will conclude something with them, and they will once again deceive us, and we will console ourselves with the fact that we do everything honestly, and they will deceive us? After all, is it our destiny to remain fools all the time? Well, wait, Americans minted medals for themselves in the 1990s for their victory in the Cold War, and since then, all these decades have been decades of big lies. How can we even hope that they will finally conclude an honest agreement with us, which they will fulfill, but also with guarantees for us? Well, I don't know, in general, how to talk to them. Do you really believe that this is possible? I don't want to say it, but I don't trust anyone, so. But we need guarantees. These guarantees must be spelled out. They must be ones that would suit us and that we will believe in. This is what we are talking about. It is probably too early to talk publicly about what this could be. But we definitely won't believe in any empty promises. I'm afraid they will quote you too broadly. Don't you trust anyone at all? Or do you mean Western partners in this case when you say that you don't trust anyone? Well, I prefer to be guided by facts rather than good wishes and talk about how we can trust everyone. You understand? When decisions are made at this level, the degree of responsibility for the consequences of the decisions made is very high. Therefore, we will not do anything that is not in the interests of our country. Vladimir Vladimirovich, what happened to Macron? Has he really gone crazy? He is going to send French troops to fight our army. He looks like a Gallic fighting cock. Thus, he scared all Europeans. Still, how should we respond to this? The fact is that the military of Western countries has been present in Ukraine for a long time. They were present there even before the coup. And after the coup d'etat, their number increased multiple times. Now they are present there directly, in the form of advisors. They are present there in the form of foreign mercenaries, and they suffer losses. But if we are talking about official military contingents of foreign states, then I am sure that this will not change the situation on the battlefield. This is the most important thing. Just as the supply of weapons does not change anything. Second, this could lead to serious geopolitical consequences because, for example, if Polish troops enter the territory of Ukraine, as it sounds, for example, to cover the Ukrainian-Belarusian border, or in some other places, in order to free up Ukrainian military contingents to participate in hostilities on the battle line contact, then I think that Polish troops will never leave there. Well, it seems so to me. Because they will want their territories back. They dream and want to return those lands that they consider historically theirs and which were taken from them by the father of nations, Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin. and transferred to Ukraine. Of course they want them back, and if official Polish military units enter there, they are unlikely to leave. But then their example may be followed by other countries that lost part of their territories as a result of the World War II, and I think that the geopolitical consequences for Ukraine, even from the point of view of preserving its statehood in its modern form, of course, they will arise in all their glory and at full height. If we return to Macron, maybe he decided to take revenge on Russia in this way for the fact that we stepped on his tail in Africa. Did we have to stand there and be afraid? He probably didn't expect us to be so active there. Yes, I think he has some kind of resentment. But when we maintained direct contacts with him, we spoke quite openly on this topic. We didn't go into Africa, and we didn't push France out of there. The problem is different. The well-known Wagner Group first carried out a number of economic projects in Syria. Then it moved to other African countries. Our Ministry of Defense provides support, but only on the basis that this is a Russian group, nothing more. We didn't push anyone out, it's just that the African leaders of some countries agreed with Russian economic operators. They wanted to work with them. But in some ways they did not want to work with the French. It was not even our initiative. It was an initiative on the part of our African friends. But why be offended at us in this regard? This is not clear. If an independent state wants to develop relations with its partners from other countries, including Russia, if it wants to develop relations with Russia, in these countries we did not touch the former French colonialists. I even say this without irony. Because in many countries where France has historically been a metropolis, many do not want to deal with them. We have nothing to do with it. But it's probably more convenient for Macron to be offended by someone without seeing his own problems. Well, perhaps such an acute, rather emotional reaction on the part of the French president is connected, among other things, with what is happening in some African states. Although I know other African countries that are calm about the French presence, who say that this suits them and they are ready to work with the French, but some countries don't want to. Well, we have nothing to do with it. We are not inciting anyone there. We are not inciting anyone against France. We do not set ourselves such tasks. To be honest, we do not have national tasks there at the level of the Russian state. We are just friends with them, that's all. They want to develop relations with us. Well, for God's sake, and we are going to meet them, and there is nothing to be offended about here.
Now I can give you my opinion on this until I'm blue in the face, but would it matter to you? Probably not, so I won't. I'll let you draw your own conclusions on what Vladimir Putin has just said. Putin bad? I don't think he's all that bad. I think he's communist. Well, we get it. That's his gig. That's their gig over there. If they wanted to fight against the system, the people are there to fight against the system, but nobody's doing that. So I'm gonna let that go as it is, but let me know what you think. You can go to the left-wing media and get your advice there. You can go to the right-wing media and get your advice there. There'll be two totally conflicting stories that try to evaluate you so that they can move you into their way of thinking. So I do not want to do that here. We are letting you have your way of thinking because it's probably better than the political governments could ever even imagine. That's what it's all about. Freedom of choice, freedom of expression, freedom of thinking. They can never take that away from you. So give me your thoughts, give me your ideas and comment down below. And once again, remember, we are all one love in this world trying to get along and make things a better place. That's all. Let me know what you think, and God bless you out there. Praying for y'all, love you, like, subscribe, talk to you later. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.